All right, a very good morning to you if you've just tuned in. We are now going to cross back to Nasrec, and this is where the Progressive Business Forum Conference has started. And on the podium, we're hearing for the very first time from newly elected ANC Treasurer General, Dr. Gwen Ramokgopa. This is her. Let's cross over now.
And indeed to each and every branch and communities. As my first engagement as TG, I was reminded of the words of the ancient Latin writer, Publius Serras, who said, I quote, "Anyone can hold the helm when the sea is calm," I close quote. And so we all look forward to calm seas, or at least to holding the helm together to navigate a true and beneficial course. I think the response of the RAND contributes to this calm, and we welcome that. In a fundamental sense, the PBF is the locus of the engagement with business and professionals as well. It is rooted in the commitment of the ANC to uphold the covenant made by President Nelson Mandela, who in his inaugural address on the 10th of May 1994 said, I quote, "Today we enter into a covenant that we shall build a society in which all South Africans, both black and white, will be able to walk tall without fear in their hearts, assured of their inalienable right to human dignity," close quote. And recalling the words of President Cyril Ramaphosa, who we all congratulate for the second term, and ourselves being privileged to serve with him. Yes, we can applaud that second term. He said in his February 22 SONA, open quote, "Because we choose to confront our challenges, our immediate and overarching task is to place our economy on a path of inclusive growth." Close quote. I always add and a shared prosperity, because the inclusive growth, yes, we must grow our economy and include as many, but each one of us must feel this democracy works for us when we feel indeed we are prospering, both in terms of quality of life and also in terms of being able to go about our lives in whatever sector we're in. These words of President Cyril Ramaphosa serve as a powerful reminder of the vast opportunities which lay in store for our country. That together we have the experience, we have the resources, we have the expertise, and we have the will to overcome whatever is facing us. And we know so well, and we have experienced it, that there is no challenge too big to conquer if we work together. One of the immediate examples is how we rallied together as a nation to indeed confront the COVID-19 pandemic. This is at the very heart of the programs of the Progressive Business Forum, a program of action at a time when resolve is needed most, and when confidence is the means to ensure inclusive growth and a shared prosperity. Unlocking and ensuring inclusive growth is clearly not simple in execution, nor immediate in result, although we must have a sense of urgency, but would seem to me to include very definitely ongoing attempts at practical engagements, reaching out to other respective corporate citizens and organizations. There are glimmers of hope from the work done in the past 5 years. If we look at the third quarter figures from Stats SA on jobs, we have seen that there is indeed a rise in jobs in South Africa, formal non-agricultural sector. I will not bore you with the detail because that's what you do every day, I take it before you leave home. Some do it as they wake up to assess how quick they will take their shower, or even to decide whether to take a shower or a bath. If things are well, people take it easy. They know that we are on the right track. So I will not bore you with the details that you are most familiar with. But we want to be comforted by the fact that the size of the economy now exceeds the pre-pandemic levels. Real GDP measured by production in the third quarter is above the previous peak recorded in the fourth quarter of 2018. Inflation has softened to 7.4%, still high, and it is in this context that we are also looking at how to reach out to those most distressed, including businesses, both big and small. We're also looking at the fact that women are also participants in the economy, and my perspective of women is not vulnerable people who have to be pitied and patronized. But I want to echo the call of our President Owar Tambo, that where he actually called out to women to stand up, because the task of liberation and the task of ensuring progress in our nation is too big for men alone to partake, and that women need to stand up and be part and parcel of the solution. I'm not undermining the need to redress the imbalances of the past. It is our collective responsibility that will yield a collective gain for a productive society and indeed an inclusive economy. Stats SA reported that in 2022, 47% of South African women were recorded as economically inactive. This means that almost half of the working age of women in South Africa are out of the labor force, compared to 35.6% of their male counterparts. So it is important that if we look at the various studies, the ILO, even the European Union is tracking the contribution of women in the labor force, in the economy, as a critical key success factor for growth. So it is important for us as a PBF and also as leaders in the corporate world and leaders in society in general to ensure that nobody is left behind. We also are aware that the youth of our country, having benefited from funding for their studies, remain trapped in very high unemployment rates. I trust that we will together put our heads to ensure that every young person who has invested in burning the midnight candle and acquired some skill will have an opportunity in our economy. These are challenges that are not too big for us if we work as a collective. We are also aware that the face of poverty is that of black people, and we're also saying we don't want to patronize black people. We're calling on the structures such as the BBC to also stand up. I've actually put this challenge to the leaders of the Black Business Council that they work hard to get us into position. And then they stand back and say, hey, who have you invited to the boardroom table? And I was actually saying that you must make sure that you book the boardroom and then you actually assign the seats at the boardroom table, so that you are also providing leadership. Because if we don't provide leadership, we can't blame others for taking initiative to contribute in this beautiful country. But from our side, we must commit that no one must be left behind. If 80% of our country is not productive, we know that whatever we do is very minuscule in working in our endeavors to achieve this inclusive growth and this shared prosperity. The Office of the Treasurer General, you have interfaced with this office continuously, some of you over decades, and I would like us to indeed look at the areas that we should prioritize, and I really look forward to the team that is coordinating to brief me fully, and we will make time to visit you, we will make time to respond to your requests in a manner that displays the highest ethics and that is transparent and that is accountable. We need to appreciate that together we need to build this social moral fiber. If any one of us breaks down the social moral fiber, if we are not honest, then we give others the right not to be honest. And if you look at especially the Asian tigers, what we refer to as the countries that have advanced, they are giving a very practical and effective message of zero tolerance to corruption. But we must also teach our children, we must nurture those who report to us, those who look unto us as mentors, that it is possible to succeed through honesty, through trustworthiness, and through ways and means that do not tolerate wrongdoing. Otherwise, we are creating a society where only those that do wrong can thrive. So I look forward to ourselves working with institutions that we have established and created to really help redress the problems we've had in this regard. We have seen the efforts of the President and the Executive. It is our part, for our part to also contribute. If there is bribery of traffic officers, it can only come from two, the ones who receive the bribe and the one who offers the bribe. We must, even when we interact, we must interact in a manner that dignifies the future that we want to leave behind us for generations to come. Coming together is a beginning. Staying together is progress, and working together is success. Those are the words of Henry Ford. And to really conclude by saying we will be ending one of the biggest conferences we've ever had, one of the most robust conferences we've ever had, from over 4,000 branches all over the country. And indeed, it has been very heartening for me and many of our generation to see that the ANC is becoming young, and that the youth in the ANC have not lost hope. They are vibrant, they have dreams, they have aspirations, and it is for us to join hands with them. I also stand here to salute those women who were before us, to single out perhaps three of them. Charlotte Manye Makweke, who comes from the village where my dad was born, in Botlokwa, who was the first woman, a black woman, to acquire a BSc degree and came back from the United States where she studied to mobilize for the formation of the African National Congress. So today we salute her. We salute her tenacity, we salute her vision, and we salute her contribution. She was so dynamic. She even advised institutions that were very patriarchal, like the Traditional Council, She was one of the advisors of King Dalinyebo, and she actually mobilized the men of the days from traditional houses to the faith-based sector and the middle strata that was there, the business and professionals, to organize themselves and to provide hope and leadership for our country. However, she was not allowed to be a member of the leadership team. And that is why, after the ANC was formed in 1912, she then rallied women together and said, women, we can't wait for these institutions to involve us. This task is too big for men alone. And indeed, we are honored and privileged that the branches of the African National Congress recognize that the task of fast-tracking our endeavors towards an inclusive growth and a shared prosperity needs both men and women to raise their hands. And I was actually embarrassed when I was told that you are a first woman in 110 years, almost 111 years, to occupy this position, but equally encouraged by the approach to these difficulties of patriarchy that is really narrow-focused, that we should not wait for institutions to change. We must be the change that we want to see. We hope that many of you, if not all of you, will also demonstrate that you appreciate that women must be part and parcel of creating a productive environment, and without women's contribution, it is not possible to achieve inclusive growth and a shared prosperity. I think it's also historic that there are 3 women amongst the officials, and but I think the women that are there are not there only as females. They are there as leaders in their own right. There's a track record which I trust that you appreciate, and that we will also be treated as such, as leaders in our own right. But we also commit to women that will make sure that those who we fraternize with also respect the fact that women have a place, women have a voice, and women also need to be recognized as contributors to our shared prosperity. Thank you very much, and welcome to our minister and my sister. Perhaps today is not the time to talk much, just those greetings that I extend to yourselves, and look forward to building formidable partnerships during this term. I thank you.
Well, there is the newly elected ANC Treasurer General, Dr. Gwen Ramokgopa, speaking for the first time in her new position, and just trying to sort of speak about the significance of the role that she has now entered into, just saying, it's very important to give women a voice, that women are in there, and it's not just going to be something that is a visual representation, but they are certainly going to be making a difference. And these are just some of the words that were uttered. She said this isn't the opportunity to sit and speak right now. There's lots to go ahead, but certainly just expressing her joy at being voted into this position. Well, there you go. That's just a little bit of a glimpse as to what to expect going forward from the new ANC Treasurer General.